You're
You
ready.
said 5 seconds.
I mean, you're ready.
I'm scared of you.
Boom. Boom.
Good morning and welcome to the November 28th, 2022 session. Before we start, we always open with a prayer, and this morning we have Reverend Rex again.
Yes.
Thank you for coming.
I just want to say thank you. This was a great honor and a great privilege throughout the year to be able to come and pray for this county and put God's blessing upon it and upon you. And God's wisdom would come forth. And we've seen that. So I'm very appreciative of that. So let's pray. Our Heavenly Father, truly we thank you so much for Clermont County. Lord, we thank you for the prosperity that you're providing, even in the times of inflation, even in the times of things looking like they're going to fall apart. Lord, you've got us put together. And we thank you for the leadership that this county has had. And because of that leadership and because of their willingness to seek you, Father, we're seeing blessing come upon us. And I just thank you, Lord, for each commissioner that's here that takes the position that they were elected to very serious and very have a lot of thought involved in decisions that they make, and they do seek you. And that's why we see the blessings. And Father, I would just pray that in this Advent season that, Lord, we would be like Mary, that when you approached her, she was obedient to what you spoke to her. And Father, as a county, may we hear your voice, and may we be obedient to what we would willing to, what it may seem like it's way out there, and as Mary had to struggle with, but she pondered those things in her hearts. And may we be a people that ponder the great things that you do in our county, in our hearts. May we be like a Joseph that didn't want to disgrace Mary in any way, but then heard your voice also and was obedient. And we want to be like the shepherds. Father, they were willing to seek out. When they were told about that babe in a manger, they sought it out. And then they went and told everyone they knew. They told it on the mountaintop. Father, may we be like the angels, that we would show the glory of God and that people around would see the goodness that you have. And may we be wise men that still seek after you. And Father, I pray as in closing that we would be like the prophets. The prophets foretold your coming as that little babe in a manger. And Father, the prophets have foretold of that little babe coming back a second time. And Lord, may we be looking for that as we tend to be people who want to seek after you and have blessing upon our hearts and lives. May we look for that coming again. And so just thank you, Father, once again for Clermont County. Just let everyone that serves in this county have your protection. Put your angels around them. Lord, watch over them. And Lord, bless them and just bring to fruition everything that you would want this county to aspire in doing. And we thank you in Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Thank you. Mr. Corker, you want to lead us in the pledge? Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First on the agenda is the approval of the regular session minutes of November 16th. Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter.
Yep.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes. Item C is a presentation by Jeremy Evans on our road resurfacing.
Good morning.
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 We do not have a presentation.
We have it.
Okay, you have it. All right. So, it was about this time last year, you might remember, this board voted to contribute $4 million to our resurfacing program. So I wanted to give you a recap now that work is kind of winding down, it's been completed for the year. The first few slides or topics that I will cover, the slides you've seen before, but I think the significance Sorry, thrown off a little bit by not having the slides up there.
Make believe they're up.
That's fine. You're good. The information on the slides, sorry. Whenever I talk resurfacing, I like to talk about the challenges that we face. So that's what those first few slides represent, and then also provide some context for the significance of that $4 million contribution. So the first one is a graph that you will see, but it talks about where our revenues come from. So before we talk about spending, it's good to talk about where that money is coming in. So county engineers funded from vehicle registration fees, there we go, and fuel tax. Thank you. Perfect. There we go. So you'll see the bulk of our income, registration fees, fuel tax. We're not funded by property tax, income tax, sales tax, all those kind of things. So these are road user fees. The vehicle license fees are specific to each county. So more registrations per county, more revenues in that county, smaller vice versa. The vehicle fuel tax, anywhere you buy tax in Ohio, the portion of that tax that comes to the counties gets divided 88 ways. So every county sees the same from that fuel tax.
And that's regardless of population.
Yes.
Or how many vehicles you actually have in your.
Correct. Yes. And so you can buy gas in Clermont or wherever in Ohio. Some of that comes back here.
So if we get $2.8 million, if that's what that number is, then all 88 counties get 2.8, even the smallest of counties.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And so the recent increase that we saw had a bigger impact, obviously, to some of those smaller counties as far as a percent of their budget. So, significant increase for them. So you can see this chart covers 20 years from 2001 to 2021. Saw a slight increase to both of those fees in the early 2000s, and then again around 2018, 2019. But for the bulk of that time, revenue is pretty flat, hovering around $10 million. With the recent increases to both the vehicle registration and gas tax, we're right around $12 million per year on an average basis. Over that same time period, the asphalt pricing, as far as the cost per cubic yard, you can see has increased. It's gone up over 300%. So just wanted to highlight 2001, we were paying just under $60 a cubic foot. Now we're up to like 175. Projections for next year, we're hearing around 205, so we'll cross that $200 threshold. So pretty significant. So of course, when you look at flat revenues, increased costs, what we're able to accomplish with those dollars then is going to be less. It's going to be reflected in the results. So this graph isn't as clean. It kind of bounces around from year to year. You can see we spent historically a little more, a little less some years, but it's trending downward because of the reflection of that cost. On this chart, you'll see the yellow line represents a 12-year paving cycle, which for us would be about 30 miles per year. In the early years, when costs were low, we were able to stay pretty close to that. As costs have gone up, we've drifted from that line. Historically, County Engineer's Office has spent about $1 million per year on resurfacing. In 2018, with the increase to the $5 to the vehicle registration fee, we pledged to spend on our resurfacing, and we have. So from 2019 and beyond, $2 million has been our resurfacing budget. So you can see 2020 should have been a good year. You remember the pandemic that we can't forget. We put our paving program on hold because of uncertainties with the funding that year. We were fortunate to have some grant funds. We were able to still accomplish some resurfacing. So 2021 looks like a bigger year because of that carryover that we brought forward from 2020. It had been our single biggest paving contract until this year. With your contribution, you can see 2022 was the largest paving contract that we've ever managed here at the county. Looking forward to 23, back to that $2 million budget. If costs are as high as they're looking, we're going to be back down closer to that average. We're still around a 24-year paving cycle, so not as bad as we were, but obviously not where we'd like to be. No. All right, looking more specifically at this year's program. I know the map is impossible to read at this scale. This is actually a map that we put together for our contractors so they can plan their project, but you can see I think, a pretty good representation of where we're able to touch throughout the county, where we're able to accomplish some work. If you look at the chart on the right, you'll remember probably we invite townships and municipalities to participate in our paving program. Some of the larger townships, they're able to bid projects on their own, get competitive bids. They're certainly welcome to participate, and sometimes they do. But for the smaller townships, really more significant for them, able to get more competitive pricing. I think it was Williamsburg Township a few years ago was not able to get anyone to bid on their project because it was so small. So this helps them, helps us also with volumes. We get some good pricing that way. So you'll see $2.5 million was the county engineer contribution this year. The $4 million from the board. Water Resources resurfaced some of their access drives to treatment plants and things. But the rest of that 1.4 million townships and municipalities for a total project this year, 8.2 million. Mileage wise, those top two lines, the county engineer and the BCC commitment, 44.5 miles we were able to resurface or repair this year. About 11, a little over 11 for the townships and municipalities. Excuse me, and then Water Resources there with their drives. So on the map, this is the total program. So some of those smaller lines that almost look like dots at the scale would be those subdivision streets or village streets. But for the most part, anything that's labeled with the longer lines are from those top two lines, the county and then the board contribution. So on this map also, the colors, the orange is strictly resurfacing. The green are the roads that we did full depth repairs to. So in our typical rotation, we will resurface some roads, we will full depth repair others, and that'll be the roads that are resurfaced in the next year or two. So we're just trying to prep ahead. You'll notice another color this year, the pink, is full depth repair plus resurfacing. So with the extra 4 million, we wanted to make sure that those roads were complete from beginning to end. We didn't want to leave anything out there that left to be done in the future years, seeing this as kind of a one-time contribution. So those roads were repaired and resurfaced in this year. One of the other things that's not easy to reflect on a map, but is our prep work that our crews do ahead of the contribution, or ahead of the resurfacing program. The culvert replacements that go into all the prep for this, our crews usually try to stay 2 years ahead of resurfacing with their culvert replacements. When you culvert that might need to be replaced, we get it done ahead of resurfacing, so we're not open cutting brand new surface. This year, with the extra challenge kind of thrown at them, we thought we were ahead, but found ourselves to be behind a little bit, which is a good thing. So our guys really stepped up to the challenge this year. Normally, we spend around 60 to 80,000 in culvert materials per year. This year, we spent 200,000 in order to get out and stay ahead of this additional resurfacing program. Excuse me. So we have crews that aren't normally replacing culverts. They were replacing culverts this year. They really stepped up. They did a great job. Once those pipes go in the ground, they're easy to forget, but I want to make sure those guys are recognized. So they did a good job. They stepped up. Schedule for this, we bid this project in March, awarded it in April. They started work in May and were complete by October. Last week, they were finishing up some punch list items. So pretty big program, but got it done in a year. All right, more specifically, looking at those top two lines, the county roads. The roads that are highlighted in white are the roads that we would have done normally under our 2022 program. The ones that are highlighted in gray are the roads we're able to touch with that additional 4 million. You'll see by number of roads, maybe it doesn't seem real significant. If you look over to the mileage column, however, a lot of those additional roads are pretty lengthy, 1.5, 3, almost 2, 3.5, so you can go down the list. Mileage wise, of the 44.5, 18.5 we would have done normally. So the extra 26 came from that additional 4 million. And so if you're doing the quick math in your head, you're thinking we had 3 years worth of resurfacing. Why is not 3 times the mileage? But it goes back to that full depth repair plus the resurfacing. So normally we are splitting that up over a couple of years. With that extra funding, we were able to get all of that done. So the mileage goes less, but the significance is still there, it's still felt. So that's a quick summary. Looking ahead to next year, we're finalizing our list of roads still based on our $2 million average annual, contribution. Townships that have participated this year, we picked up Union and Milford, who are going to participate next year. So we're looking at $2.4 million from them. So we'll still have about a $4.5 million total project for next year. So happy to answer any questions.
No questions?
Jeremy, any way to reduce that asphalt cost? I mean, are we limited to what suppliers we have in the area, or
Yeah. So
any innovative thinking on that? Can we run an asphalt plant?
that would be difficult, obviously. There are some technologies that are being explored. There are some things that ODOT is experimenting with. We're fortunate in the area to have two pretty big asphalt manufacturers, but we're still kind of limited to whatever they provide, right? And they're one of their biggest contracts is with ODOT. So it really needs to come through ODOT first, and then we'll kind of see that technology maybe trickle down some. But they are looking at things like using recycled asphalt in place of aggregate, or at least in some percentage. You're not using new aggregate every time. That aggregate is already pre-soaked with some level of emulsion, so you can cut down on that cost as well. So they're looking at some things like that, recycled materials, other types of things, but until we see it implemented, it's hard for us to use it.
Yeah, understood.
Yep.
And then I know you're limited when it comes to force account work that you can actually undertake by a particular dollar amount that's currently outlined in legislation. Could you kind of explain that, what that dollar amount is? And
Sure. Really impacts this mostly on the bridge side of things. So $100,000 is the limit that our crews can do related to a bridge project. We can do bridge projects that are larger if we bid out portions of that work, but our crews are limited to $100,000 worth. So most of our bridge projects that we do now, that's what we do. We'll do some of the prep. We'll hire somebody to come and set the box, and then we'll do some of the cleanup at the end, bring in somebody to resurface. That number hasn't changed also. If I put up a similar graph, early 2000s, and of course, inflation, we could talk bridge costs. It'd be the exact same. We're able to do less within that limit than what we're used to. So,
and the County Commissioners Association and the County Engineers Association are both lobbying. And I believe that number that's out there as far as the platform priorities is 250,000.
that's what I've heard. Yes.
Is that enough?
Probably for now. That will get us caught up. But then, and again, if we go another 20 years without an increase, eventually inflation is going to catch that number too. Anything would help right now. I know it went before the legislature last year. They were able to get an annual increase. It was either I think it was 3% or the cost of construction inflation, whichever was smaller. So this year, instead of 100,000, we're at like 102 and some change. So it didn't impact us a whole lot, but my anticipation is it'll come up again at the state level.
And I think people may overlook that limitation in that you can have a great workforce. You can have all the people to do the work. You can have all the heavy equipment to do the work. But if the project incurs a cost greater than $100,000, then you have to bid that work. You can't do it with force account work.
Right.
And in the inflationary structure that we're in right now, that's really tying the hands at lots of engineers, departments, and causing equipment that is needlessly idle that could be used on occasion.
Sure. I mean, obviously, it's the contractors lobby who would prefer to see it stay this way so we can bid out more work. We're not looking to do more than we used to, though. We're looking to be able to do the same amount of work that we've always done. And so there's still work to be bid out. There's still projects that we don't have the specialty for or the time or whatever. So there's still plenty of work that would get bid. We would just like to be able to do the work that we did, 15, 20 years ago.
And then we're currently in the budgeting process. And like last year, there are many considerations that are on the table here for putting money, obviously, into programs across, whether that's lowering sales tax, whether that's if this board were to contribute $4 or $5 million to that paving account again, is that doable? Could you put to work $4 or $5 million on the road work here at Clermont County in a 12-month period again, like you've done this time? And where would that take us to as far as this 24-year cycle?
Right. Short answer is absolutely. Obviously, we'd have to look at it. So we've looked into our 23 and 24 paving year. We've started the prep work for culvert replacement. Some of that stuff we're still, like I said, finalizing our list. So depending on that number, I'd have to look how far out that would go, and then the impact of the prep work that would be needed.
Culvert replacement?
Yes. So this year we had some bridges that were pushed back into 2023. So we were able to eat, that extra cost of the culverts. We made that work. Next year, those bridges that are scheduled. So I may have to take some of that $2 million that we would normally spend on resurfacing, spend some of that on culverts. Either way, it's still going to that resurfacing program. So that's kind of the long answer, but short answer, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Any other? Thank you. Jim.
Thank you.
For the update. Appreciate it. Item D, public participation. Seeing no one. Item E is consent agenda. Board, we've had this in time to review. Are there any corrections or deletions?
I want to remove one item, and I don't, Greg, you might want to take a look at that. Item number 15 for personal actions,
What page are you on, Dave?
page 6. Item number 15 has personal actions. I want to pull out Lisa Workman.
Lisa Workman, CTC?
Yes.
Okay.
And handle that separately.
Okay.
You making that motion, Dave?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to remove that one line, and we'll handle that on a non-consent.
Okay. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran, Yes. Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Okay, with that, do I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran, Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor. Yes. Moving on to item F is non-consent. As soon as I find it. Wow. Okay. Item 17 is the recommendation that the Board of County Commissioners adopt resolution number 167-22, resolving to approve payment to vendors in the total amount of $4,386,805.85 as set forth in the BCC approval invoice report for checks dated November 28th, 2022, BCC directed prepaid invoice reports and/or the procurement card transaction report as presented by the county auditor on November 23rd, 2022, and further authorizing the county auditor to issue warrants for same pursuant to section 319.16 of the Ohio Revised Code. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I will ask for a roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran, Yes.
Before we do that, if we could just get an explanation on this one's pretty high today, $4.3 million. There obviously were some big costs included in that.
We got them as part of our sheet so we could review them.
Lost the paper clip. Got them right here. Okay, one of the highest payments was for the Newtonsville collection system project at $540,000.
That was actually 1, 2, 3 of them totaling almost $1 million.
Yeah.
Okay. That was it. Thank you.
Okay?
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Morning, Connie.
Item number 18 is the recommendation to authorize Susan Walther, the Director of the Department of Job and Family Services, Administrative Agent for Clermont County Family and Children First, to execute an agreement between the Clermont County Department of Job and Family Services on behalf of Clermont County Family and Children's First and Child Focus Incorporated, located in Cincinnati, Ohio, for parent enrichment program services for Clermont County children residing in a parent or relative home in an effort to maintain children in a home environment or to children reunifying with a parent or relative from an out-of-home care placement for a total amount not to exceed $43,982.52, effective upon execution through June 30th, 2023, pursuant to the terms and conditions specified and contingent upon the receipt of the required purchase order.
Okay, board, you've heard the reading of item number 1. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I will second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes,
Commissioner Corcoran.
Abstain, I sit on that board.
thank you.
Thank you.
19,
Recommendation to execute Amendment Number 1 to the sub-grant agreement between the County of Clermont, Ohio, and Give Like a Mother, located in Batavia, Ohio, previously ratified by the Board of County Commissioners on August the 10th, 2022, for temporary assistance for needy families program services for eligible TANF clients of Give Like a Mother, with said Amendment Number 1 to revise the line item budget to reflect an increase in the budget from $100,000 to $300,000, which represents an increase in the amount of $200,000, effective for the period of August 10th of 2022 through June 30th of 2023, with all other terms and conditions of the original sub-grant agreement to remain in full force and effect.
thank you. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 19. Do I have a motion to approve?
Make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Can you explain the grant that was received for this, please?
Sure, this is a sub-grant we received TANF funding for, which this was a new program that we started along with the Educational Service Center program for the resource coordinators in order to try to utilize all the TANF money. We had extra money, so we come up with a couple new programs. And this program, we had anticipated increasing this after the first 2 or 3 months. We wanted to start out with a lower number because it was a new program and Give Like a Mother had to. We wanted to make sure that they could meet all the audit requirements. There's a lot of paperwork with eligibility and all the backup documentation has to be submitted with the billing. And they've done that with flying colors. There's no issues whatsoever. And we were also told that September and October are their busiest months for 2 reasons. School starts and then winter is right around the corner. So the family clothing packets go in October normally. And they have spent September, there was 191 clothing packets provided, just over 33,000. And then in October, 277 winter clothing packets for over 50,000. So we're serving a lot of families.
Great.
So we're going to continue that and we're increasing that because we think it's a good program.
Thank you, Connie. It is a wonderful program. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Gail.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Lyle.
Morning.
Item number 20 is a recommendation to reject the sole bid received on October 13th, 2022 for project number 6401-60152 for the State Route 132 Water Service Connections Project located in Stone Lake Township and the Village of Owensville, as the sole bid exceeded the engineer's estimate of construction by more than 10%. In compliance with section 153.12 of the High Revised Code, and to adopt resolution number 168-22 to amend resolution number 136-22. This was previously adopted by the board on September 13th, 2022, and to make the improvements and proceed with the specifications and revised estimate of costs and financing, and further to approve the request to re-advertise for bids for the project pursuant to and in compliance with the specifications, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place a legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation on Thursday, December 8th, 2022. Schedule the non-mandatory pre-bid meeting on January 19th, 2023 at 2:00 p.m. with bids to be received until 2:00 local time on Thursday, January 26th, 2023. Here in the Office of the Board of County Commissioners, 101 East Main Street, Batavia, where they will be publicly open and read aloud shortly thereafter, and the legal notice will also be posted on the county's website. So we only received 1 bid on the project. Essentially what we're doing is there's a 1959 8-inch water main that runs on 132 heading north out of Owensville. And there's also a 16-inch water main that was installed in 1988. So it's a newer main. We don't really have any maintenance issues with it. We're going to transfer all the water services, relocate any hydrants over to the 16-inch main, and just abandon that 8-inch main.
Okay, thank you. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 20. Do I have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Number 21.
Item 21 is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 169-22 to determine to make improvements for the construction operation and maintenance of the Afton and Goshen elevated water storage tanks inspection, evaluation, rehabilitation, and coatings application project located in Williamsburg and Goshen Townships, and designated as project number 6401-60200, and to approve the request to advertise for bids pursuant to the plans and specifications, and to authorize the clerk of the board to place a legal notice in a newspaper of general circulation on Thursday, December 8th, 2022, then schedule a non-mandatory pre-bid meeting on January 26, 2023 at 10 a.m. with bids to be received until 2:00 p.m. local time on Thursday, February 2nd, 2023, here in the Office of the Board of County Commissioners, 101 East Main Street, Batavia, where they will be publicly open and read aloud shortly thereafter, and the legal notice will also be posted on the county's website. So again, we're trying to stay up with our 20-year painting schedule. Both these tanks are 200,000-gallon tanks. The engineer's estimate is $1,563,500.
Board, you've heard the reading of item number 21. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. 22.
Item number 22 is a recommendation to accept the contract between Clermont County and Smith Corp. Incorporated out of Cincinnati, Ohio, for project number 6402-60160 for the Bethel Area Sewer Replacement Phase 2 project located within the village of Bethel, as complete as of September 15th, 2021, and to approve the application and certification for payment number 2, which is the final, and for the release of retainage in the principal amount of $10,694.44, plus all accrued interest earned.
Thank you. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 22. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Gail?
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank you. 23. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Item number 23, I'm Wayne Prescott, Fleet Director, in concurrence with Thomas J. Eigel, County Administrator. I recommend to adopt resolution number 170-22, resolving to declare the necessity to purchase vehicles outlined below as a replacement for the Clermont County Sheriff's Department at the estimated cost of $260,000 pursuant to Section 307.41 of the Ohio Revised Code, and in compliance with the Sections 307.86 through 307.92 of the Ohio Revised Code, and contingent upon the approval of the annual appropriations for 2023 and the issuance and receipt of the purchase order.
Thank you. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 23. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Wayne, are they going to be able to get them?
We'll do our best, I promise you.
It'll take a while, huh?
Might, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Number 24. Gail, are you going to do that one?
I'll read it for you. Yes. Just got to get it in front of me. It's already that time. This is resolution 171-22, authorizing amendments to certain bond documents for the benefit of Sem Haven. It's in connection with the County of Clermont, Ohio Healthcare Facilities Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2014, Sem Haven Incorporated. And this is basically amendments to certain existing bond documents to accommodate changes to the methodology for determining the interest rate in connection with the Series 2014 bonds. They were previously approved by the board on August 27th, 2014, and known as Healthcare Facilities Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2014, Sem Haven. And this is to effectuate the transition from the LIBOR rate to another rate or fallback provisions, which include but not include or limited to the secured overnight financing rate. So I'll let Mr. Michael Dean from Densmore and Shaw. He's here today to explain why we're doing this. Okay,
Thank you. You've done a fairly great job there yourself, Gail. Thank you.
thank you.
So yes, this relates to a series of conduit healthcare revenue bonds that were issued by the county originally in 2004 for Semhaven and then refunded in 2014 for Semhaven. These bonds bear interest on a variable rate basis, so the rate changes every month based on LIBOR, which serves as a benchmark, and then there's a spread that goes on top of that for a credit risk type of calculation. Fifth Third is the holder of these bonds. A lot of banks are taking different approaches to these LIBOR changes. Happy to answer any questions on that topic, but no, try to stay away from all that boring stuff if you guys would like. So anyway, their approach is to essentially amend a few of these bond documents. The county is a party to some of these documents, the sublease that is underlying this, and then the bond itself. Sorry. So those would be the effective amendments that we would ask the county to approve. And I think that's it. I guess just to clarify a couple of things, the county is not financially liable, does not make any payments on these bonds, would never be required to make payments on these bonds. And one clarification that the prosecutor's office asked for was to confirm or affirm the indemnification obligations of Semhaven to the county under this transaction. And so we've got some language in the amended sublease to cover that topic as well. So without anything further, I will shut my mouth and answer any questions you have.
Anything?
All right. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
again for accommodating
Thank
us.
you.
Appreciate it.
I will thank you and Gail. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 24 in explanation. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Gail?
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batch.
Yes. You made it.
Thank you. Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Yep.
Morning.
You have to steal a car?
No, I've got a new battery.
Ah.
I won't tell you how much.
25.
Michael McNamara, I'm Director of Community and Economic Development. Item number 25 is a recommendation to adopt resolution number 172-22, resolving to authorize the President of the Board of County Commissioners, or in their absence, the County Administrator, to execute certain non-disclosure agreements related to the location of business operations within and around the South Afton Industrial Park located in Williamsburg Township, Clermont County, Ohio, in order to facilitate timely communication and exchange of confidential business information between the county and interested business entities. And furthermore, all non-disclosure or confidentiality agreements shall be approved by the Clermont County Prosecuting Attorney or one of the Assistant Prosecuting Attorneys before it is executed by the President of the Board of the County Commissioners or County Administrator. And this is something that the Prosecutor's Office and Brian Shrive has been working with us over the last month to 6 weeks to develop. We went back to the drawing board recently and redrew this to mirror what was passed by the Board of Commissioners in 2018 to allow us flexibility and the ability to work with economic development in that area.
Thank you, Michael. Board, you've heard the reading of item number 25. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll make the motion.
I will second. Any discussion?
Yeah. Prior to this meeting, I've been informed that this is not needed anymore, that the information that actually spawned this possible NDA has already been provided to the entity. Is that correct, or any comment on that?
Yeah, so I'm sure there'll be more to come, but the information that was sought, I believe Lyle has provided, it was asked for a while ago.
Not in its entirety, no. Still,
You still have more out there.
still needs some more
Okay.
information. Still negotiating.
And then in addition to this particular write-up says that this agreement shall be approved by the county prosecuting attorney and or one of the assistant prosecuting attorneys. A prosecuting attorney approval is not required for the Board of Commissioners. That's a board's decision. And especially if it's going to be the president's, I can understand that the prosecutor would provide an opinion or his review of any NDA, but to actually require approval is not necessary.
Okay, I think that was placed in there to provide comfort to the board, but I understand if, if it's the board's pleasure to make any amendments.
I mean, the legislation and the code and duties and powers of a county commissioner are pretty clear when it comes to legislation, and a approval by the prosecutor is not required for commissioners to carry on their duties and powers as elected officials. So in my particular case, I'd vote no.
So we actually have two issues that are bearing on this point. And what was the first one? I was not aware that this has been resolved, or?
No, there's more information that has been requested. I thought all the information was disseminated, that was requested. Apparently, there's more sitting there. So this is definitely for the future. You're going to need to consider as we move forward with any type of development in that area. As you know, Afton is it's an economic development paradise now. It's getting all its infrastructure. So these are going to continue down the road. So it's something definitely the board wants to consider.
So do we want to take this entire item and bring it back again?
We can certainly do that. We can look into it. Work with the prosecuting attorney on it.
Okay.
And clarify what information is out there, and then clarify economic development statute as well. That's what the board is on.
Got it.
Okay.
We want to table this then, again?
I'd make a motion, we
Well,
table.
then let me withdraw
Okay.
my motion, and Commissioner Batchel, I guess, do you want to withdraw
I will
yours?
Withdraw mine also.
Okay, now we'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we table.
All right, I'll second that.
Roll call, Gail?
On the motion to table, Mr. Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran, Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, Mike. Do we need a motion to withdraw too or not?
I think it's fine.
Okay, thank you.
26, good morning, Mary Rains.
Mary?
Good morning. 26 is the request to increase 2022 annual appropriations for the Lexington Run RID in the amount of $195,000. And this is for the Batavia Township draws for projects out of the RID monies. And then the water distribution and water revenue fund of $200,000 for some unanticipated maintenance costs.
Water distribution.
Always long.
Water distribution.
You can't stay off the agenda, can you?
For you further reading, item number 26, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Discussion, Mary, on the 195,000 of the RID. I know there's some guardrails on that RID money. I guess this is before my time. The RIDs were actually put in place on these particular developments.
Mhm.
And then that money was supposed to be for
It goes to
road reconfiguration, but Batavia Township was allowed to pull some of this RID money down for specific projects that were associated with.
the various RIDs. So
Right.
anything in the RID districts. So
Right.
the appropriation increases for the Lexington Run, but it's really drawing from any of the RIDs that are in the Batavia Township. They have about $632,000 worth of projects that they're drawing, and they haven't drawn money in several years.
Okay.
So this is not just money for projects that are happening now. It's an accumulation. Some new park restrooms, HVAC system replacements, water heater replacements, and things that benefit the people that live there
That was it.
in those subdivisions.
Mhm. Okay.
Roll call, Gail?
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
So we are going to move item,
Before you do that, you
We
have
got-
an item.
we got one
For
item.
Non-consent.
that's right.
would be Personnel action. on
That's
consent
right.
document. So that was, the personal action was CCC supervisor, probation, and no salary change.
We need a motion just to approve it at this point, correct? Okay, I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second?
That would be you.
I will second. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter.
Abstain.
That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
Now I can go back to item I. Are you sure?
Sure.
We are going to move that up ahead of the additions to the agenda, and that is county staff or elected official discussion.
Yes, we have Mr. Schrock from the prosecutor's office here to talk to you today about the juvenile court project and the process and some of the requested changes. Mr. Schrock will go over.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is regarding the juvenile court expansion project and the revised code 15336 approval process for change orders. We have provided the proposed changes to you, I think, about 2 weeks ago. The committee, as we've discussed in the past, is made up of the 3 commissioners, the clerk of the common pleas court, the probate court judge, and the sheriff, and one representative of the common pleas court. I have this change order that's at issue today is initiated by Judge Shriver with respect to changes to a lot of the courtroom changes. I have had a chance to review this with the sheriff and Judge Brock for the Common Pleas Court and Barb Wiedenbein, the Common Pleas Clerk. Judge Brock and Sheriff Leahy have both signed off to deny the requested change order. Ms. Wiedenbein has not yet given her response on that. Presumably, and I haven't gotten a signature from Judge Shriver yet, but presumably he's on the approved side since this was his request. Any change order requires a majority of the panel, not necessarily the commissioners, if that makes sense. So each of you have a voice on that as well. So I don't know the particulars as far as the specifics on the changes. You've had a chance to review those. I know Wade would be probably the best person to talk to, but I think he's been out of town.
It involved the bench and all of the changes.
This particular stage, correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, this is to modify the contract with the architect.
Right.
To redesign everything.
Mhm.
Then you're going to have whatever costs.
The cost of the changes.
The bench changes.
Right. So this is specifically to authorize the architect to do new drawings, which then, if this is approved, the architect would do new drawings and then would come back with potential changes to the work, which would again have to be voted on or approved or not. This change order is approximately $10,000 or $11,700 to do the drawings. To do the actual work is given a rough estimate of somewhere in excess of $91,000
And
to do the work that the drawings would then bring to.
And
So right now,
delay. It would initiate a delay in the process of the.
it would add some delay to the final project. So right now, what's in front of the board today, just to be clear, is an $11,700 to do drawing, just for the architect. Yeah. So if that's approved and the drawings are done, then at a later date, we'd look at doing that actual work or not.
So you need a motion at this
So
point?
just comment real quick on the path forward there. Even if, what is the restitution to the judge, or what's the ramifications if this board disapproves this design change? Can the judge, since this is form or process of how the courtroom actually functions, what's his path forward to cause these changes to be done anyway?
I don't know that he really has a viable path. If assuming the judge wanted to try to force this through, I think he would probably would have to file a suit. But I mean, it would be like a mandamus, but the statute contemplates that that this is a discretionary decision, that each member of the panel is supposed to apply their own reason. This isn't a ministerial act of just signing. This is your thought and your opinion. So I wouldn't expect that it would go that direction, but it may. But I don't know that it would be successful. I think that the decision of the board, of the panel in this case, one way or another, would be respected.
But right now there are two members who have declined. One member has not indicated whether they will
Correct.
approve and or decline.
Correct. Clerk Wiedenbein has not indicated either.
and-
So we need-
And this board is comprised of seven
Seven
so
members.
you need 4
So presumably Judge Shriver is a yes. I haven't gotten his formal signature on that, but I'm presuming. So if yeah.
Yes.
Stranger things have happened. So that would presumably be one. So it takes 4 to approve or disapprove. So if all three of the commissioners went yes today, that would be the 4 out of the 7 to get to yes. If 2 of the commissioners go no, there's 4 to no. So
it's 3 commissioners: Barb Wiedenbein, Judge Shriver,
Sheriff Lay.
Sheriff, and then Judge Brock.
Yes.
Did you want to wait on Wade, or do you
No.
want us to go ahead?
He'll be here in a couple minutes. So it's the board's pleasure what you want to do. If you want to pause this discussion when we have the engineer here, we had talked about road funds, and I know Mary's here and we have some information. If you want to discuss that briefly, it's the board's pleasure how you want to handle it.
Would you rather wait and hear what?
I've already reviewed all of it.
I
I'm
have
ready to
too.
vote.
Okay.
Want to vote?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Then we will call for a vote.
Well, so
We need-
yeah, so you are individual votes.
Mhm.
This is not a,
So you can really kind of just announce they just announce
Okay.
your position. Do maybe just to make it simple, have a roll call, but it's not a vote of the committee.
Do a roll
ahead,
call.
Gail.
But what we're talking about here is we're only talking about the architect's contract to cause them to make some drawings
Correct.
that outline what he has requested.
that's right.
That would be used for the contractor to actually give a price.
Correct.
Which would then have to be reviewed again by these same board members.
Correct.
And we only do this on projects that are under the jurisdiction for courthouses and
In jails.
jails. Okay.
Commissioner Batchelor,
I vote no.
Commissioner Painter,
I'll vote yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
I vote no.
The no has it.
This is the same.
Yeah.
It's the change order right here. Thank you.
Right under clear.
Yes.
I gotta get them to turn that air conditioner on. I'm freezing. I'll go and change his panel. Mysterious cup.
Yeah.
Look mine the other room.
Matches your jacket.
I know. I feel like I'm at a funeral when they all whisper.
Very much, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Brian.
Thank you for your work on that, Brian.
And look who's here.
Never
Just too
mind.
late. Never mind.
Commissioner, I know this is a different way that you've done courthouse in the past, but Mr. Schreiber's office has reviewed the code.
Yes.
This is the proper way to handle this.
Thank you.
They're not individually outside the public eye. So that's fine.
Thank you.
Mr. Schreiber was up here today.
Works
It's not
fine.
a traditional agenda.
Thank you.
Now, while we're still in comments,
Mm-hmm.
Jeremy was up here earlier talking about road projects. Is there anything you'd like Ms. Raines to take a look at as far as our ARPA dollars that are available? Should you want to do something? We are coming down to the budget season. If there's any direction you want to give staff to get you information, please let us know.
We had a couple issues out there that, what would please the board on that. Obviously, there are ARPA dollars left over. We funded roadways last year to about $4 million. I know my desire is to use that money on things that affect as many citizens in Clermont County, since that's obviously tax money that came from the federal dole. I've thought about two particular paths forwards. One would be to make another contribution to the roadway fund to see if we can pull back this 24-year schedule. The state recommends a 12-year schedule for roadway funds. Jeremy has stated that he could make another large stab at this and pull those years back. Obviously, all citizens in Clermont County use the roadways. The other thing would be to reduce the sales tax, and sales tax is permissive in all counties in the state for some period of time, to decide to reduce that from the 6.75%, maybe back to the 6.5% for a period of time that equals the money that's available there. After consideration, I think that, making another contribution to the roadway fund would benefit, this county, and obviously transportation drives economic development, and that I think we would get a large return out of. So it would be my suggestion that we entertain making a $4 or $5 million contribution to the roadway fund, again, to the engineer's office, to get these roads in shape in Clermont County.
One thing I would like to see also, if we could do it, over the years, there's been all kinds of complaints about the areas and sewers.
Sewer and water expansion, I think.
Exactly, because I know Frank Wren, that was one of his biggest things when he was a trustee in Ohio Township, that they couldn't develop because they didn't have sewer and water in a lot of their areas. So I would like to see something considered for expansion of sewers.
And I think earlier
And
this year,
roads.
we included some funding for a study in the southern portion of Clermont County to see how feasible and what a path forward would look like at being able to do that. Lyle, you might want to comment.
Studies underway to evaluate its areas, the unsewered areas south of State Route 125, to determine the feasibility and best way forward to provide sanitary sewer to, if not all, a majority of that area.
Greg?
Practical. I think that some of the limitations with the ARPA funds are they have to be spent
Right.
in a certain time frame. So we're funding some other wastewater projects that were already planned and ready to be built. And that will help offset some of our capital funds. And if we need those in other areas in the future, those should be there within our capital funds.
So you and Tom could get together with Mary and figure out, how we could take a review for us of how we could support both things. I agree with the water and the sewer, that we put a lot into the roads, but I think we're not going to get development unless we get the water
That's true.
and sewer in those areas. We just give us a background on it. So instead of us voting or saying anything today, then we'll know how much we have to work with, what we have left, and what we can do to support
We
any
have,
projects.
we have it now, where we're at. If you want to talk about it briefly, Mary can, it's up to you, or we can provide.
I'd rather see it in writing so I can review it before we just open it up on the floor. Yeah, I appreciate that.
But
I'll get that to the commission.
Okay, I think all three things that we've talked about would be a great way to use it that would benefit everyone in the county. So if you get that information to us, maybe we can help everyone a little bit.
That's good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And while we're still in county staff, Lau, can you talk about what the path forward is as far as sewage disposal in Clermont County? Clermont County versus Brown County, are there some changes coming up for operators in the area that are actually making drop-offs of that material? Are we, is one of those areas being discontinued or?
No, I think there's been some confusion. The only thing I'm aware of is we've never permitted grease disposal at our septic receiving station. It's for septic tanks. There are companies that collect grease from restaurants and then they take those to, there's a term for it, but it's like a reclamation type facilities. And I know I spoke with one septic hauler who we've always never permitted grease disposal, and I don't know how well that's been enforced, and our operator at our Middle East Fork treatment plant is enforcing that. So what has happened in the past is I think they've picked up residential waste, pumped out of residential tanks, and then also collected from some small restaurants.
Mixed it.
Yes, and then said, well, I've got a lot of grease in my loads. We'll have them dump that on a drying bed, basically an open area with an under drain under it. It's got sand on top and an under drain, so that then we can scoop that stuff up and just put it in a dumpster and dispose of it at a landfill. So we're enforcing our policies that we've always had in place. So those septic haulers that are hauling out small grease traps will no longer be able to dispose of those at our Middle East Fork plant.
And that's at the Middle East Fork plant, right?
Correct. That's our only wastewater treatment plant that we've ever accepted.
And those loads will be redirected to Maysville? Is that what I heard?
No, I'm not sure where. I know there's facilities in the city of Cincinnati. Yeah, there's other places where we don't have a facility to reclaim grease waste.
Okay. That's what it was.
Okay.
Thank you.
Charge
Thanks,
on it,
Lyle.
too.
Anything else? Greg, you have anything else? Okay. Then we'll move back to item G.
Bonnie,
What?
I have something.
What? Sorry,
Staff
Gail.
comments.
Didn't look that
Um,
way.
December 14th is still pending on a time for when we want to have session. This is regarding the Duke Energy pipeline training, and our session is scheduled for 10. It's the day that the 2023 appropriations will be voted on. And so Mr. Eigel specifically would like to have all three members here. So the Port Authority meeting that was on that day has been moved. So if you wanted to do this at 2:00, you could. It's just your decision.
What about you?
I'm fine. Are you?
You're fine?
What was the time you wanted?
2.
2:00? And it was that training that morning, right? Is
Yes,
that what
the
it is?
Duke pipeline training.
Okay. 2:00?
2:00.
That's good.
2:00.
Because they're doing one on the 7th and one on the 14th.
Exactly. There's 2 trainings. Yes.
Yeah. Because I think we're signed up for the 7th.
Yeah. So why are we holding off then?
We're waiting to see what Dave's doing.
Wait a minute.
On what?
On
The time.
7th.
Oh, on the time?
No.
On the 14th
On the 14th.
at 2:00.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got an EELU meeting on that day, but I can move that if you want to do it at 2:00.
When are you doing the Duke training?
That Duke training is in the morning, right? It's at 8 a.m. that morning.
Yes.
It's also on the 7th.
But that's CCAO, the
Yeah,
7th.
at CCAO on the
Oh, I
7th.
got it. Okay. I got it. Okay.
Are we all in agreement on 12/14 at 2:00?
If Commissioner Painter can make it.
Gosh, I just don't know if I can move that EELU meeting.
What is that?
How about 3:00? Can we do it at 3:00? Is that too late?
Boards, yeah, I think both of,
We got a lot to go over.
yeah.
Well, I'll see if I can move it. Do it at 2:00. I'll see if I can move the
Are you
EELU.
sure?
Yeah.
Because Mr. Eigel absolutely wants 3 members here.
Okay.
So do you want me to?
Once again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So we're going to mark it tentatively then for 2:00 on 12/14.
And let me see if I can move that.
Okay. Okay.
Let's see if Sarah can move it.
So December 14th, 2:00. tentatively. Changes may come. We'll see.
Shouldn't.
Okay. That was the only thing I had.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else from anyone? Moving on.
And
Hi, Suki.
Hi, Suki.
Okay, then back to item H. Nope. Additions to the agenda.
Commissioners, we would like to add 121.22G1. We currently have to consider the employment compensation. I would like to add dismissal or discipline to that as well.
Okay,
I'll make the motion to add.
I'll second.
roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. That's the only one today?
That's correct, yes.
Thank you. So then moving on to item H is an executive session pursuant to section 121.22G1 of the Ohio Revised Code to consider the employment, compensation, dismissal, or discipline of a public employee or more public employees. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
I will second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Thank you. We will be back.
Ready?
We have returned from executive session. We went in. Great, what'd I do with that? Read it, somebody. Here it is. Pursuant to section 12122G1 of the Ohio Revised Code, to consider the employment, compensation, dismissal, or discipline of a public employee or more public employees. And
So we have a couple of add-ons for your consideration. We have two personnel item actions to add on to the agenda. If you would like to consider those.
okay, need a motion to add these on.
So moved.
A second?
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. Hi, Sandy.
Good morning. The first personnel action is with the Department of Job and Family Services for Sharon Emery, termination due to voluntary disability separation, effective November 8th, 2022. And the second personnel action is with our Water Resources Department, Charles Jeffers, termination, probationary removal, effective November 28th, 2022.
Do we want to vote on these separately? Or can we do them both together?
I'd say
Separate, I would think so. The first one is for Sharon Emery. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Roll call, Gail?
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. And the second one is Charles Jeffers. Do I have a motion for that one?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Corcoran,
Yes.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the only thing left I see is item J, members' comments.
Good.
You good?
The only thing I have in the comments is that the honor flags are being taken down today. And the East Fork Kiwanis Club, what a wonderful job they did for all the sites. And especially our new site, which was the sheriff's office this year, the flags flying. And thank goodness they have maintained through all this weather.
They didn't blow away in the wind?
No, I'm sure there was some damage, but that entire club did a great job,
They did.
especially Judge Mary Lynn Burke, who came and gave the presentation and opening for each one of those events. We say thank you to them.
Absolutely. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I will second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Painter,
Yes.
Commissioner Corcoran.
Yes.
Commissioner Batchelor.
Yes. And I understand we'll see you next Monday,
10 o'clock.
Thank you.